announcement has been paid for by the new Howell order.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the blues, we'll cover it all here on Commander's Nightly News. I'm your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So Sam Howell was benched yesterday in the 28-20 loss at L.A. against the Rams. Now, the benching came with 9 minutes or so to go in the game. Washington was down 28-7. They were looking for a spark. Again, I don't really understand the logic behind the move. You're not in a playoff race. There's no meaningful game to winning this game, essentially. You're struggling. And again, the only thing I can think of is Eric Bieniemy is like, hey, this is making me look bad. And Sam was struggling. Who are we kidding? He was awful. This was his worst game of the season, if you ask me. And this is the wrong time for this, to be honest with you. And after going back and watching it again, a lot of the same things that I said prior to the bye haunted him again in this game. And I don't know if it's going to change, honestly speaking. And I hearken back to sentiments that I had earlier in the season when I kept saying, just let Sam be Sam. Everybody was bitching and complaining about the sacks, complaining about him holding on to the ball too long, staying on his first reads, this, that, and the third. And I said, just let Sam cook. You know, just leave him alone, leave him be, and let him be who he is. Eric Bieniemy had said something to that same effect, but he was bitching in practice about the sacks and talking about how he needed to get rid of the football. And I said, ultimately, you're going to turn him into a different quarterback. And between the hits, the constant pressure for him, not just from the opposition getting to him and having to vacate the pocket, but the constant pressure from the external forces, whether it be the coaching staff or the media or even the fans. And I don't know if he hears all of that or not, but the constant pressure to get rid of the football, it's starting to wear on him. It's wearing on him now, and you can see it. Like, he's hunting incompletions, as he likes to say. He's doing things that he wasn't doing earlier in the season when I felt like he was a much better quarterback. When he was hanging in there, willing to take the sack for the big play. And you know what? I ran through a bunch of stop signs early in the season. Red lights, at least yellow lights. They weren't necessarily red lights. They were definitely yellow lights that I just hauled ass through. I mashed the gas, and nothing wrong with speeding up on yellow, right? But earlier this season, I watched the QB School with JT O'Sullivan when it was the preseason. It was the game against the Ravens. And, Sam had a really good showing in that game. And he talked about how he loved a lot of the concepts he was seeing from EB. However, he's like, it's going to require a lot of time because a lot of these concepts are deep routes down the field. And so if you're going to run these concepts, it's going to take a lot on the part of the offensive line and the quarterback to hang in there. And at that time, Sam was hanging in the pocket because no one was bitching about him taking sacks, and he was delivering the football. And, JT O'Sullivan said, I don't know if this is going to work. And he warned us, and I wasn't trying to hear that shit. I was high off my own supply back in those days. And so I wasn't trying to hear that shit. He was like, look, man, I really like these concepts, but I don't know if it's going to work, especially if this offensive line isn't very good. And, what we've seen in the offensive line, remember, the Ravens got zero pressure in that game, and they were playing their backups, right? So it gave us a false sense of hope. But the week prior when we went against Cleveland and they played their guys, they mopped our first unit, right? They mopped our offensive line, and it scared the shit out of us. So we probably should have known that based off of what we were being told, and that was not the first time I heard people say, hey, these are a lot of great concepts, but these shits are deep down the field. He's going to need time. It's not the first time I had heard that, but it also wasn't the first time that I ignored it either. Well, now, it's starting to come to fruition, and going back and watching the game from yesterday, one thing is apparent. There was pressure. This offensive line was under siege once again at times. But for the most part, I'd say about 60% of the snaps, Sam had time to throw the football. This wasn't one of those games where he was constantly under siege and had to make quick decisions. Yes, there were times where that was the case, but there were more opportunities for him to stand tall in the pocket and deliver the football. Now, again, I don't have the all 22s at my disposal quite yet. I'll be able to look at those tomorrow. But my guess is that guys probably ended up getting open over time, but Sam's process has been sped up. And again, some of that is because of the offensive line's failures over the course of the season. Some of that is because they're constantly getting on him about getting off of reads. Hey, don't stick on to your first read or your second read too long. Go through your progressions, get out of there. And if it's not there, get rid of the football. Do not take a sack. And they've been pressing him and pressing him and pressing him on that. And you're seeing the end result. He's bailing. And I said this prior to the bye. He's bailing on the pocket. He's bailing out of there too soon. There are times where he doesn't need to go anywhere. And early in the season, he wasn't looking to vacate the pocket. He was looking to stand tall in there. And he was taking hits. And he was delivering the football. And he was taking some sacks occasionally. And people were getting pissed off. And again, I said, you're going to change fundamentally who this kid is if you keep complaining and bitching about the sacks. And now what has happened is he's not the same guy. And some of it may be because of the pounding he's taking, but I think a lot of it is just due to him not wanting to take sacks, not wanting to hear from everyone, specifically the coaching staff, telling him to get rid of the football, get out of there, don't take a sack. And so I don't think he's hanging in there like he once did, right? And I think it's affecting the way he's operating in the pocket. Obviously, we've seen him be creative outside the pocket, but most of your damage in this league has to come from within the pocket. If you can't operate in the pocket, then you can't play quarterback at a high level in this league. And he's not operating from the pocket in a manner that's going to allow him to be successful in this league consistently. You can't live off of off-schedule plays. You have to be able to make it happen in the pocket. And he's just not doing that right now. He's not seeing the field well because our guys aren't getting open immediately because the routes are so damn long developing down the field. And so he's getting spooked, whether there's pressure or not. He is getting out of there and he doesn't need to. And so it's frustrating watching this unfold the way that it is because I hate being right about shit that I don't want to be right about. And I told you guys this right around like week 5 or 6. I started bitching and complaining about all the people bitching and complaining about the damn sacks. And I'm like, I don't really give a shit about the sacks if he's going to continue to stand in there and deliver the football. And everybody kept bitching and complaining about the sacks, bitching and complaining about the sacks, bitching and complaining about the sacks. And I'm like, I'm telling you, you're going to ruin this kid. Because eventually he's going to start doing everything in his power to avoid sacks instead of looking to make the play down the field. And that's what's happening now. He's not staying on his first read. Jacoby Brissett, he didn't, like, it was funny. I'm listening to the media and I'm like, what game were you watching? Jacoby Brissett wasn't making quick decisions. He was standing back there. One of the knocks on Jacoby Brissett is that he holds on to the damn ball too long. And Jacoby Brissett came in the game. He didn't make any quick decisions. He stood back there. He had great protection, first and foremost, right? Which is what Sam was afforded for most of the day. So he made that good protection stand up, right? And he made it count for something, which is what Sam wasn't doing most of the time. But he came in, and it was like the perfect storm when Jacoby Brissett came in the game. You're down 3 scores. The other team doesn't respect you offensively because you ain't done shit. You've had 5 consecutive 3-and-outs. Or I think it wasn't 5 consecutive. It was like maybe 3 consecutive 3-and-outs with a interception in there, and then you also had the 1 touchdown drive. But it was more bad than good. You only scored 7 points the entire day. They didn't fear our offense at that point. So with 9 minutes to go, he comes into the game, and all they're really pretty much thinking about is, hey, just don't give up anything big. Nothing explosive. Just keep everything in front of you. So I think he got different coverages and different looks than what they were giving Sam, throughout the day. And then, he comes in, they're kind of relaxed defensively. And we saw this before. I want you to think back to the, it was a similar game, honestly, to be honest with you, before I get to my overarching theme of today's lead story. But if you could remember all the way back to 2019. The game against the Dolphins. Ultimately, that was the game that decided whether or not we were going to have the number 1 pick overall or not, because I truly believe had we lost to the Dolphins, and I did not want to lose that game because I thought we were going to go 0-16. I really thought that team was that bad that we wouldn't have won a game had we lost to the Miami Dolphins in week 6. I think it was week 6. We would have went 0-16 that season. I don't think we would have had the confidence to win a game later on that year against Detroit and Carolina. I think we would have lost all of our games that year, and we would have gone down in infamy. And so I really wanted to win that Miami Dolphins game. And remember, we jumped out to a what was it, 17-0 lead. Like Terry had 2 touchdowns, I think, in the first half. Maybe a touchdown in the first half, a touchdown in the second half, and we were dominating them. And remember, it was Josh Rosen that we were playing against, coincidentally enough, and he was ass. And we were getting off the field because he was struggling to read the field, holding on to the ball. And what did they do? They took him out, inserted, and they waited too late, frankly, similar to what we did in this game. Waited too late if you were going to move on from Sam in this particular game. Should have done it earlier if you were still trying to win the game, which is why I asked what the hell was the point of putting in Jacoby Brissett. But that's no here nor there. The Dolphins did the same thing. They benched Rosen, and they put in Ryan Fitzpatrick. And if you remember, it was bing, bang, boom, bing, bang, boom. And they were in the end zone twice. And next thing you know, or they scored twice, and it went from 17-0 to 17-10, and then Fitzpatrick took him down the field at the very end, scored another touchdown, and then they went for 2. And remember, it all happened very quickly in the fourth quarter. They benched Rosen, and Ryan Fitzpatrick came in and was dealing. And that's what happens when you bring a guy into a game where the defense kind of relaxes a bit. They think they've got everything under control. You bring in a veteran that knows the offense, that has seen it all, done it all in the league, and he's just going to come in there. He's got nothing to lose. He's just going to let it rip. And that's what Jacoby Brissett did, just like Ryan Fitzpatrick did to us. And he brought them all the way back. And if not for a faulty 2-point play, they beat us in that game, right? And it was kind of similar. It was like the perfect storm. You bring him in, we're down 3 scores. The Rams aren't respecting us at that point. They gave us looks that, and again, I got to go back and watch. And, you go back and watch the all 22s, and you'll probably see opportunities for some plays to be made. And frankly, like I said, this was the worst game I watched Sam play because he didn't stand in the pocket. Like you can tell that he is so cognizant of the rush now. And even when it's not there, you can hear he's hearing voices in his head telling him to get out of there. That internal clock is being sped up, and he's not looking to make the plays and letting these plays develop, even though I still, and that's my biggest issue with Eric Bieniemy is, at what point do you say to yourself, we got to make sure we're getting the ball out of his hands? Like, why do we have to keep having the same conversations about, first of all, you can't expect our offensive line to hold up to allow these long developing routes. I told you that there was a route on a 3rd and 7 early in the game where we got to see the all 22s because Sam ended up getting, I think, sacked on the play, or it was either the sack or he had to throw it away. And they're all deep developing curls, 15 back to 12 on 3rd and 7. And our offensive line, and they sent the all-out pressure. And, I would love for Sam, and I don't know if he has this autonomy or not, or if, they've given him the control to be able to do this. I don't know what's going on, but I would love, like, I'm watching Brock Purdy, and the Cardinals did a similar thing to him, and he just checked to a slant to his tight end, and he got it to George Kittle on the slant because he knew they were coming with pressure. I can't have my guys running 15 yards down the field and wait for that to develop when I'm getting all-out pressure. And so I'd love to see Sam see the all-out pressure and say, hey, and that tells everybody slants or whatever, or look at one receiver and go, and that tells him, hey, we going to change your route to a slant or whatever. But I don't know if he doesn't have the autonomy or what, but you can't expect a 15-yard route to get down the field, come back to the quarterback with an all-out pressure. It doesn't work that way in the NFL, and it's just frustrating watching this offense because EB was bought here to be able to grow and develop a young quarterback, and he's not doing that, right? And so it's very frustrating watching this thing unfold the way that it's unfolded. But after watching the game and Sam being benched, that was a damaging blow. And I don't know if he'll recover from that or not. And I honestly, because so many people think, this offense is so much better if no, you know what? Start Jacoby Brissett this week against the Jets. That's what I really want to see, and see how well he does then. Because Sam's probably gonna get his ass whooped this week, and it's gonna look even worse. And at this point, this is what I feel. I think this is the biggest game of the season, and this is the biggest game of Washington's short-term future, because this game at 1:00 on Sunday at the Meadowlands versus the Giants is huge. It reminds me a lot of that Dolphins game, a lot of that Giants game from 2019, where draft position is on the line. Okay, and so you're either on one side of the spectrum or the other, right? You're one end of the spectrum or the other. There's no in between here, right? And so I think there's two options that you can go with, and why this game is so massive. Because on one end, if you're a Sam Howell truther, I'm a cape for Sam. So you guys know how I feel. I'm a cape for Sam. But I do this with kickers too. Those are the two positions where I really cape hard for dudes, because I know if you can be patient enough and wait to get through the storm, there is all of this potential on the other side. You see it with kickers all the time. Their first stop isn't their best stop. They get all of the nervous energy out. They get all of the kinks out. They figure out their mechanics. They get everything kind of squared away. And then by the time, like Dustin Hopkins is having a career year and again, we couldn't wait on him, right? You can't wait on these kickers forever, right? You got to produce. It's the same thing with quarterbacks. Like at some point, I can't keep caping for Sam. You got to produce, bro. And this is where the rubber meets the road. In week 16 versus the Jets, it's unfortunate that we've gotten here, but this is the position he's been put in, right? And he's put himself in this position by allowing external forces to tell him how to play the quarterback position. He said in his press conference last night after the game, I know how to play at a high level in this league. Well, you got to prove it, bro. You got to prove it. Because right now, you're regressing right in front of our very eyes, and you're making it easy for the next group to come in here and discard you as a 5th-round pick, right? So, in watching how all of this is unfolded, if Washington wins this game, or let me finish my thought before I go off. I cape for quarterbacks and place kickers, because I know if the guy is talented enough, eventually his talents will shine through. And I've seen so many kickers come through Washington and not get it done here, go elsewhere and become lights out kickers the remainder of their careers. And I could reel them off, and it make you sick to your stomach, right? How many good kickers have come through Washington and ended up going elsewhere and becoming stars, right? Essentially. And we're watching Dustin Hopkins do it for the Browns right now. He's having Dustin is almost automatic. It's crazy, right? Anyhow, at some point, I always say with the kickers, bro, I can't save you and I can't help you if you don't help yourself. All right? There's only so much I can do. I can't keep the pitchfork and tortures at bay much longer if you don't start giving me something to work with. I said the same thing when it came to D-Hop. I'm currently doing the same thing with Joey Sly, because even though I don't think it's always his fault, we know Joey's got a little bit of that ability to miss in him, and it's nobody's fault but Joey's. And then he gives you the look like he can't believe he just missed. Like, come on, bro, you missed, right? But I'm at that point with Sam now, again, where the rubber meets the road, where you go, hey, Sam, I can't help you if you don't give me something to work with, bro. Because yesterday was awful. It was the worst game of the season for you. You looked scared. You looked paranoid. You looked like you were seeing ghosts. And again, the Rams weren't getting immense pressure in the game. Again, there were times where this line let you down and you had to get out of there. One play down by the end zone, we're backed up at our own goalpost. And the first play, you got a defensive lineman falling right at your legs, and you're like, oh shit, and you got to bail and get out of there, and you scramble for like a 3-4 yard gain. There were plays where you were under siege, where the line did the shit that they always do, which is allow pressure. But there were a lot of times in this game, more so than most. There's not a lot of games where you get to stand back there in a clean pocket and you didn't take advantage of the clean pocket. You got out of there, you bailed, you ran when you didn't have to. And that's been a common theme of late with Sam. And you can start to see the inner voice is starting to get to him. He's hearing what people are telling him throughout the course of the week. Get out of there, find an incompletion, don't take a sack. And you're seeing that shit starting to beat him up mentally. And I knew this was going to happen. I hate being right about shit that I don't want to be right about. But you got to give me something. And this is it. This is the game right here. This is the best defense we're probably going to see all season long. If you can play against them, you can play against anybody. I want to see what you do in this game because last week feels like they're starting to put nails in your coffin, bro. All of the nails are in place. And now it's just about hammer meeting nail and all of these different nails to seal your shit shut. And you got to do something to knock those nails out of place so that you can kick yourself out of this coffin and sit up like the damn Undertaker. Because right now they're burying your ass, okay? And you're not doing anything to help yourself get out of the casket. You're just laying there like it's over. And this is your shot. This is your last opportunity to be honest with you, okay? And so here's what I'm saying why this game is so big for Washington's short-term future. Because if Washington wins this game on Sunday against the Jets, and this is a very winnable game, Zach Wilson may be out of this game and Aaron Rodgers may not play, okay? I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback, right? But if Rodgers doesn't play and Wilson is out with the concussion, the Jets stink, period, okay? They were brought back to reality. A lot of y'all were, finding yourselves falling for the banana in the tailpipe when they scored 30 against the Texans. I'm like, nah, they still ass, okay? They proved it on Sunday against the Dolphins. They're still ass, okay? But if Rodgers plays, it's a different story. I don't think he's going to play for what? Why would you play in a season that's lost where you're 5-9 and there's no hope of you making the playoffs? What's the point, right? It just doesn't make sense. I don't see it happening. So with that said, had they beaten the Dolphins, I think he would have played in this game. They lost and they got their asses reamed. There's no hope there. It's over. So I don't see him coming back. But if Washington is to win that game, it changes the whole dynamics of their draft positioning because now the Jets would leapfrog them. They would move back into that realm with all the 5-win teams, and now we're having a different discussion, right? Now you're there with the Giants, and the Jets now have 5 wins as well. So you're there with both the Jersey teams, right? You're there with the Bears. You're there with all those, the Titans. Now you're back into a space where you could get lost real easy as we start looking at strength of schedule. You lose this game, however, and if you're Sam, that's what you got to do, is you got to go win a game that gives you a chance to protect your job, security. If you lose this game, right, and you play the way that you've been playing, and they fall to 4-11 on the season, you've essentially, and this is why it's important, because I think the two quarterbacks that I think when it's all said and done, when we get through this process, what's ultimately going to happen is Jaden Daniels is going to see himself pushed up. I went and watched some Jaden Daniels last night just to see if he would move me in any direction. I went and watched some highlights, and I went and watched the Florida game because that was one of his better performances, or supposed to be. And he had 2 big runs in that game. He had some really good throws and things of that nature. But I'm not blown away. It still doesn't look like anything that necessarily moves the needle for me. I'm not saying that the kid can't play, and I'm not saying that he won't be a dynamic player in this league. It doesn't give me like Joe Burrow vibes. I think of Heisman Trophy. I think of Lamar Jackson in his Heisman Trophy year and how dominant he was. I think of Joe Burrow in his Heisman Trophy season. I think of Cam Newton in his Heisman Trophy season and how dominant these guys were. I didn't see that from him, and I haven't seen that from him throughout his career. And so I'm not buying the Jaden Daniels hype. I'm not saying that because of Sam Howell. I'm just telling you, I'm not wowed by this guy. And I know how I feel about Drake May. I'm definitely not wowed by him. And so, and I got a lot more work to do. And I may watch some games and I may say, you know what? I really am liking this guy and he is growing on me. I'm just telling you, I took a preliminary look. I'm not blown away. And it's a lot of what I thought that I was going to get underthrown footballs where his guys come back, make a play for him. You know, it's a lot of bad defense where he's throwing to wide open receivers. I need to see some more tight window throws. And again, I got to watch the film to see some of those things. There may be plays that other people aren't talking about that don't stick out to other people that stick out to me. There are certain qualities that I look for. I haven't seen them, right? But you're not going to see a lot of that stuff on the highlights. So that's why I said I got to do the work. I just watched that one game against Florida, and there were some throws in there that were impressive. There were also some misses, and there were also some opportunities for things to happen that didn't happen. So, again, I just need a larger sample size. But all in all, what I think is ultimately going to happen is when you win the Heisman Trophy, you put yourself on a different platform, right? And I think he's going to see himself pushed up ahead of Drake May, who's been the front runner as the number 2 for the longest time. But I think as this process plays itself out, he interviews, he tests, and all of that stuff, I think Jayden Daniels is going to see his stock rise to the point where he's the second quarterback off the board. And I think you're going to see a scenario where the Bears go ahead, get rid of Justin Fields, draft Caleb Williams, and the Patriots, who are sitting at number 2 currently, draft Jayden Daniels. And if you are a Washington fan and you want Jayden Daniels, you're going to have to get to number 2. All right, it ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Patriots and the Bears are taking a quarterback, okay? And if you want Jayden Daniels, I think in past mock drafts, Drake May was able to spare you and allow you to get him. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to end up being the number 2 overall pick when it's all said and done. And if you want the number 2 pick, you got to lose to the Jets. You can't beat the Jets. And here's why I think it's imperative that you do it this week. The Cardinals play the Bears this week. I think the Cardinals are going to beat the Bears. All right. And the Patriots play somebody that I think they can beat this week. Let's see. If I got my phone right here, I think the Patriots play an opponent that I think they can handle. They were very competitive against the Chiefs on Sunday. So I would not count out the New England Patriots just yet. They're still playing football and fighting, and I would not be shocked. I'm going to look. I swear they're playing somebody that they can handle this coming week, and I wouldn't be shocked if they won. They're playing the Broncos, all right? And they have the Jets in week 18. So they have a chance to not only win 1 but 2 of their final 3 games. I don't think they're going to beat the Broncos, but I wouldn't rule it out, right? And so they could beat the Broncos. If not, they still got a chance to beat the Jets at the end of the season. What I'm telling you is, you lose this game to the Jets, and the Cardinals get a win, and then the Patriots get a win somewhere along the way, and we'll see what the strength of schedule is for the Patriots. But I know when I was looking at the strength of schedule for the Patriots, anybody in the AFC, their strength of schedule is probably going to be tougher than ours because their conference as a whole is just better than the NFC. Now, we play in the best division in the NFC, so that's going to make it tough on us from a strength of schedule perspective because you got 2 10-win teams in the division. So that's going to make it tough on you from a strength of schedule perspective. 4 games against 10-win teams right off the bat because of Dallas and the Eagles. Then the Giants have been playing better football of late. Them being garbage really helped us from a strength of schedule standpoint. Then they won 3 in a row, and all of a sudden that bolsters your strength of schedule as well. So again, you got to get to a place where the Patriots have 4 wins and the Cardinals have 4 wins. I think the Cardinals get their 4th win on Sunday, and I'm not sure if the Patriots will get it on Sunday or if it'll come in week 18, but I think they've got a chance. You can get to number 2, right? But you can't beat the Jets. But then if you're Sam, this is for your career, bro. This is for your opportunity as a starter. You want to start next year? You want to keep them from drafting a quarterback potentially? You got to win this game, bro. And so we're going to determine a lot here in this game because if you lose to the Jets, then the Jets are out of any conversation. That would put them at 6 wins. You're not getting 6 wins this season. It's over, right? You beat the Jets, however, and now the Jets are at 5, you're at 5, and you fall back into that pool of 5-win teams, and who knows what happens from there. You could end up around 10, right? You fall back into the Tennessees because they blew an opportunity to win. If they can't beat the Texans at home with Case Keenum, you're probably not going to win too many more games this season, right? If you're the Titans had 2 opportunities the last 2 weeks to win, and they blew both of them. They're not going, they beat Miami, right? And maybe it doesn't really matter because I didn't think they were going to beat Miami, and I thought they were going to beat Houston, and so they just flip-flopped them. So maybe they still win one more game. We'll see. But they blew an opportunity to win a game there, right? But you get another win and you get into that 5-win cesspool. Now it's the Jets. Now it's the Bears. Now it's the Giants. Now it's the Titans. Now it's a whole host of 5-win teams that you're battling with strength of schedule coming into play. And you could easily find yourself in a Week 18 game. Cowboys just got their asses whooped. They probably won't need Week 18. You could find yourself in a situation where you get another win in Week 18 and all of a sudden where you were this close to the 2 seed just in Week 16 against the Jets, now you're a 6-win team and we're talking about the 12th pick in the draft. That shit can happen just like that. And if you're Sam Howell, that's what you should be aiming for. If you're a fan of this team, you're like, hey, Sam can carry his ass. We need to lose this game and we need to get as high as we can get. I don't know if any of these quarterbacks not named Caleb Williams is going to save us. I'm just telling y'all right now. I hope I'm wrong about that. And again, we'll get into the offseason and we'll get into, the film study and I'll tell you exactly how I feel. And, we'll see what happens. But, off of first blush, and I've watched a lot of these guys live, but watching guys live and watching guys for the purposes of film study are 2 totally different exercises. So I got to get into it and I got to dive into it. And I'm not ready to do that yet. Y'all know how I am. I'm still watching competitive football of other teams. My brain isn't wired to be talking about the draft in December before Christmas. That's just not how I'm wired. Y'all can have at that. Like I told y'all don't send me your mock drafts. I don't want the shits, right? I don't give a damn about your mock drafts, right? So at the end of the day, this is a massive game because this is the difference between potentially the 2nd overall pick or the 9th pick in the draft. That's how serious this shit is. And whether you don't love Sam or you want Sam to get an opportunity next year with a different situation, I'm not holding anything against Sam. I've already told you how I feel about Sam because this team is a mess. The coaching staff is a mess. And I talked about even in what happened yesterday with Jacoby coming in and playing, which was a perfect storm, right? And you see it happen very often in late game situations when you bring in a veteran quarterback. And I gave you an example in 2019 that you could probably relate to because you watched that game when we played against the Dolphins and Ryan Fitzpatrick came in against a Washington team that was trash. The game was dormant, felt like it was over. He comes in, gives them life, and all of a sudden we're fighting for our lives, right? We could easily go from the 2, or we're 4 right now, but we could easily get to as high as 2. But we could also drop as low as, 7, 8, 9, even, upwards of 11, 12 with a win here against the Jets and then potentially a win in Week 18 against a Cowboys team that will be playing meaningless football. So, again, you got to ask yourself, what side of the coin are you on, right? What end of the spectrum do you find yourself at? I'm still caping for Sam. I'm not going to relent. I told you, when I cape for somebody, whether it's a field goal kicker or a quarterback, I'm a cape to the very bitter end. But I've already laid my cards out on the table for Sam. Bro, I can't help you if you don't help yourself, right? I personally wouldn't be holding these final games against him. We're a mess. We're a train wreck. And you could say, well, Jacoby Brissett came in, delivered a 49-yard pass to Terry McLaurin. That's the largest reception we've had to a receiver all season. He came in, he was 8 of 10, 120 yards. Like I said, it's a perfect storm. I would really, if me being petty, I just start him against the Jets and all that shit would quiet down. He gets sacked 7 times and he get picked off twice and he throw for 157 yards and then all of that shit would just go away and fade to black. And I'd go, okay, see, I don't know what you guys thought this was, but that's not what I'm after. I want Sam to get experience. I want him to get reps. That's what's important, which is why I wasn't with them taking him out when they did. If you were going to take him out, you needed to do it sooner. This is a big game. That's all I'm going to say to you. This game against the Jets is reminiscent of that Dolphins game in 2019 and that Giants game in 2019 where we knew we were playing for Chase Young, right? We knew if we won that game, we weren't getting Chase Young, right? Same thing in this game. If you win this game, you know you're not getting Jaden Daniels. You might not get him with a loss. You damn sure ain't getting him with a win, right? And, you know, we don't know what the next regime is going to think. And that's the beauty of all this. I don't give a shit what y'all are talking about when it comes to Sam. Could care less, right? Just like y'all could care less what I think about Sam. And just like the new front office, when they could give a two shits about what we think as fans about Sam, the quarterback situation, they're going to do whatever they feel like is best, right? And so at this point, it doesn't really matter how I feel about Sam. He's got to play better and let the chips fall where they may. But you can't continue to play poor football and expect, like, I know this is not a conducive environment for you to be successful in, but it doesn't matter. People don't care. We talk about this all the time. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your excuses. Nobody cares about your issues. They just care about the end result. Nobody cares. That's why people say, hey, man, how you doing? And you're like, man, I can't call it now. I got no complaints, man. Nobody cares anyway. You damn right. Nobody cares. Don't even start listing the shit that's going on in your life because don't nobody care for real. That's the sad truth of the matter, though. Yeah, your offensive line is trash. Yeah, they told you to get rid of the football. Don't take sacks. All that. Don't nobody care. When you get an opportunity, make a damn play. And right now, it's not happening. So, this is it for you, bro. Week 16, on the road against one of the best defenses in football. Can you get it done? I'm going to tell you right now, it's not looking too good. I don't see it happening. I think the confidence that you had in yourself and your abilities earlier in the season have been beat out of you physically and mentally by them telling you to get rid of the football, don't take a sack, find incompletions. You're not the same dude that you were against Denver, against Philadelphia in week 4. Hell, you're not even the same guy you were in week 8 against the Eagles the second time. Or, for that matter, week 10 against the Seahawks. You're a totally different guy now. And I don't know if we can get you back. This year, at least. I think if you hit the reset button in the offseason and you came back and you had that confidence restored. This is the second time I've watched a quarterback come here to Washington with all the confidence in the world, play well early, and then get the shit beat out of them and watch their confidence whittle away to next to nothing and become a shell of themselves. We saw it just last year with Carson Wentz. Wentz came in, was leading the NFL in touchdown passes after 2 weeks of football. And then the cavalcade of injuries came to the offensive line. It started at the end of that Lions game where he threw 3 more touchdown passes to go with the 4 he had thrown in the first week of the season. And it started with the center, right? Going down, Chase Roulier. And then it was just like one domino piece after the next. And next thing you know, the oldie but goodies started playing like oldie but goodies. The center position was a turnstile. And the tackle position got progressively worse. And Carson Wentz got progressively worse. Lost his confidence and became a shell of himself. And we're watching that shit repeat itself again. It's like it's on replay. Shit's hard to watch. And I said this last year when it came to Carson Wentz. Before he let us down, we let him down. It didn't happen the other way around. We let him down first by not protecting him and not giving him plays that would allow him to protect himself. Scott Turner didn't do a good enough job of protecting Carson Wentz when shit started to go awry. He just left him out there as if the offensive line was still doing what they needed to do and he was going to have the time to make the plays, and it wasn't happening that way and he was getting abused. Same thing Eric Bieniemy has done now just a year later with Sam Howell. Never made the adjustment, and we would see it, and so we know he's capable of it. We saw it in the first Eagles game. We saw it in the second Eagles game. Ball comes out quick. Things are on time. We're moving the football, and he refuses to do it for whatever reason. We didn't see one wide receiver screen in the game. The Rams ran about 6 of those bitches. We didn't see one wide receiver screen. We saw one slant that was incomplete to Terry. One slant the entire game. You got to be kidding me. Like, where are the easy, quick completions? Where's the RPOs? Where's Sam Howell, the threat as a runner with read option, where he can keep it and give the defense something else to think about? Where are all of the wrinkles and the elements of this offense that should be available to a quarterback like Sam Howell to keep the defense guessing? Where are all the things that we were promised earlier in the season? Where's the creativity? Where's Antonio Gibson being used as a wide receiver? Where's Curtis Samuel being used as a dynamic chess piece, a running back? Like, we saw it on the first play of the game, never came back to it. Got a gain of like 6 too. Never came back to it. Anyway, Sam's in trouble. He's on the ropes. He's on the ropes. And unless he's playing rope-a-dope right now, saving up his energy for this Week 16 game against the Jets, he's about to get knocked the hell out. And again, I can only cape for you, but for so long, bro. I've laid my cards on the table. You gotta give me something to work with. Because the pitchfork and tortures are out. They out to task. And I've been keeping them at bay, but I can't keep them at bay much longer if you don't give me something to work with. Now, it's been since week 10 that I've had some real material to work with. You got to give me something, bro. We going into week 16. You got to give me something. We'll see what happens. It's either the number 2 pick and you're out of here, or it's the 7th, 8th, 9th pick, possibly 11th, 12th pick, and you're back starting here again next year. You decide with your play on Sunday. Because the Jets ain't scoring a bunch of points. Our defense is trash. They ain't scoring a bunch of points. But problem is, neither are we. With you at quarterback, at least. So, hey, you got to decide what you want to do. In other news, it was refreshing to see a couple of the cornerstone players of this team step up and remind us why they are who they are. Because a lot of you out there were ready to bail on some of these dudes. Duran had 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, was hugely impactful in this game. It was the Duran we've been waiting for a long time. And he just had, and I told y'all, I said, man, the D-line looks fresh. I told the mob that at the beginning of the game. I said, man, the front is flying. Even KJ Henry was flying around. I was like, man, this front looks refreshed. They're flying around. And albeit Stafford was getting rid of that bitch quick. I mean, he went 9 for 9, maybe 10 for 10 to start the game off. And he was just getting rid of that thing. Bop, 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 bop. I mean, that's what we thought we would be doing, right? Quick, passes, ball out, quick decisions. He was making them. But I thought they were flying off the ball. They were getting to the ball carriers. I thought they looked fresh. And Daron Payne showed why he is who he is. And just a little reminder of, hey, bro, I still can do it at a high level. And that's good to know. Meanwhile, Terry McLaurin is now just 165 yards away from his 5th 1,000-yard season of his career, which would set a franchise record, I believe. I think it'll be his 4th in a row. If I'm not mistaken, this is year 5 for him. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So this is year 5. He would have had 1,000 yards in his rookie season if he didn't miss the final 2 games, right? But this would be 4 straight consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Lord knows this one probably has been one of the biggest struggles. And if he makes it, which I can't see him not making it with 3 games to go, just needing 165 yards. I can't see him not making it. Good for him, man. And he just needed to remind everybody out there that Terry's garbage. And I kept saying, just keep the same energy. If you thought Terry wasn't a number 1, if he was mid or whatever before the season, cool. But since Eric Bieniemy has gotten here and this refusal to get him the football, I don't know. And again, and some of it is on Sam. I've already said that some of this is on Sam, right? But I just refuse to believe. I watch too much football and I see too many coordinators go out of their way to get their best players touches. I refuse to believe that it's that hard to get Terry to football. And don't think for 1 second that Jacoby Brissett giving him the ball the way that he did is like what this offense would be if Jacoby Brissett was running it. Because again, Jacoby wouldn't be getting that kind of time, in under normal circumstances behind this line. Jacoby's not getting that kind of time. And frankly, I'm shocked that the Rams even gave the coverage that they did, because I don't think they were doing that all game long. When Sam almost threw the pick, that safety was over the top on Terry. It was a different coverage, granted, but they play a too high shell. And for whatever reason, again, and I think a lot of that had to do with they weren't threatened by us. So they came out of that too high shell because we weren't taking deep shots. And so when Jacoby comes in magically, Terry's starting to get one-on-ones. Go figure, right? That wasn't happening earlier in the game. That too high shell was there. It was prevalent. They told us during the telecast the Rams play too high shell 80% of the time, the most of any team in the NFL, which tells you you're not going over the top on us. So those weren't available. Terry, you know how long Jacoby Brissett had on the 49-yarder? Terry literally rassled like I'm from the South, right? Not the South with an F, wrestle with two S's, L-E, right? And an A. With Darion Kendrick for like 3 seconds. Terry, literally, the dude had him in a bear hug. Terry literally like, how you fighting to get the tightest shirt you've ever had on in your life, and you struggling with that bitch trying to take that shit off, and you like, God damn. And he finally got him off of him. Like, you finally get that shirt to get over your goddamn head, and you pull your arm out, you like, take that shit off. He threw his ass off of him. That shit took like 2.5 seconds. And Jacoby's just standing back there, just waiting. And then Terry finally gets free, and Jacoby let it go. You know how long that shit took? It's amazing that shit just happened to just, like I said, it was a perfect storm. But I'm happy for Terry. I'm pissed off that he didn't score that touchdown. And then it would have gave us a chance to actually come back and win this game, And I'm like, and that's the shit where I get mad at Terry. Bro, stretch the goddamn, like, you don't want the touchdown? And I said this you don't want the touchdown? When's the last time you had a multi-touchdown game? You don't want 2 touchdowns in one game? You might not score the rest of the season. Clearly, there is not a connection there with you and Sam. For whatever reason. You don't want 2 touchdowns in one game? Stretch the damn ball out over the goal line. You got the shit tucked away. I knew he was down. I knew that shit wasn't no touchdown. And then the carnage that ensued thereafter. 4 minutes and 47 seconds were left on the clock when it was overturned from a touchdown to down at the 1. We don't score until 1 minute and 51 seconds. 3 minutes elapsed from the clock, essentially, before we scored a touchdown. From the 1-yard line. You got to be shitting me. Anyway, good to see Terry getting his shit off. First 100-yard game of the season. Big catch. I'm happy for him because he was lifeless out there, man. And, Derek B says that he hasn't made those same plays, those contested catches for Sam this season. And partly that's true. He hasn't made those plays for Sam, but Sam hasn't given him enough opportunities either, But happy for Terry, happy for Duron, happy for some of these cornerstone players making some plays, showing, their worth late in a lost season. Washington released long snapper Cam Cheeseman, who admitted after the game, if I wasn't in Washington, I'd probably already be cut. Well, they finally made it happen. His should have happened 2 months ago. I would have cut his ass after the Denver game. We missed a field goal early, and it's easy to sweep shit under the rug. And we already know how Ronald thinks because he literally tells us all the time. And this is what we got to start doing. When people tell us shit, we got to actually listen to what they're telling us. Eric Bieniemy told us when he got here, I don't give a shit about nobody's stats. And he's proven that. He don't give a shit about nobody's stats. And Ronald told us that I'm not going to worry about a problem until it becomes a problem. He's not looking to be proactive. Is essentially what he told us. Once the shit cost us a game or two, then I'll change it, right? And that's not the way to go about it. I'm trying to stop the shit before it costs us a game. Ron's like, nah, let it cost us a game or two, and then I'll change the shit. And after the Denver game, we already had this problem in the preseason. And as soon as it reared its head, ugly head in Denver, I would have had long snappers come in on Tuesday, and his ass would have been gone on Wednesday. But they left him here, and he kept it relatively quiet throughout, all of October and November for the most part. And then, boy, did it come back with a vengeance in late November into December. Yikes. He's been awful, and they finally moved on now. Who they are going to sign, it doesn't matter. Just get a guy that can actually snap the ball to the punter or to the damn holder on extra points and field goals. And let's move on. We should not be having a conversation about a long snapper. Shit's ridiculous. So, just another failure on the part of Ronald Rivera and company before they get the hell out of here. Just another reminder of just how inept they've been, specifically with this roster during their 4 years here in Washington. Another guy that just didn't work out. Add him to the list with the Antonio Gandy Goldens, and Sadiq Charles is probably not going to end up being here, and Chase Young's no longer here, and we can keep going all the way down the line. Antonio Gibson's probably not going to be here, and we could go on and on and on and on and on with guys that they brought in. But this one stings a little bit more because you traded up to get a long snapper, gave up a 5th rounder in the following year's draft to get him, only for this dude to be cut 2-3 years later off the strength of he can't snap. Make it make sense. Speaking of snaps, let's take a look at the Week 15 snaps for both the offense and defense. 60 offensive snaps in the game. And as you can see, only 2 guys were able to play the entire game without a hiccup. Andrew Wiley and Sam Cosmi. Meanwhile, Larson got hurt, did not finish the game. Charles Leno got hurt, did not finish the game. Sadiq Charles did not start the game. Okay, that distinction went to Chris Paul, and then Sadiq Charles took over for him and did finish the game. So, and then of course Sam Howell did not finish the game as well. So you normally have about 6 guys with the maximum amount of snaps on offense, all 5 of the linemen and Sam Howell. Only 2 in this game. So a little bit different this week. McLaurin played 51 snaps, 85%. Logan Thomas, 48 snaps, 80%. Jahan Dotson took on the Terry McLaurin. And they've been passing that baton back and forth this year on who's going to run the cardio, right? They like, hey, man, I ran the wind sprints 2 weeks ago. It's your turn. And, as Kanye once said, bitch, it's your turn. And so this week it was Jahan's turn to run cardio sprints. Out there for 46 plays, 77% of the snaps, 1 target, 1 catch. Go get him, Tiger. Larson, as I mentioned, didn't finish the game, 44 snaps. Same amount of snaps as Sam Howell, 73%. Sadiq Charles, like I said, did not start the game, but did finish it. 43 snaps, 72%. Charles Leno played the same amount of snaps as Sadiq Charles, but he did not finish. Did start the game, did not finish it. 72% of the snaps. Curtis Samuel also played 43 snaps for 72%, and he continues to be an impact player. How do you guys feel about Curtis? Do you want him back? That's another 2-touchdown game for Curtis. I can't imagine this offense. Like, I can, but I don't want to imagine this offense without him. And I think you could do so much more with him if you had a more creative offensive play caller. Like, you give him to Ben Johnson, you give him to Kyle Shanahan, and Curtis Samuel is Debo Samuel light. He's literally a problem. Antonio Gibson, which I thought he would play a lot more in this game, being that there was no B-Rob. Only 27 snaps, 45%. John Bates, 24 snaps, 40%. Chris Rodriguez, 20 snaps, 33%. Chris Paul, 17. Same with Cornelius Lucas, who both came in the game, or Lucas came in the game for the injured Charles Leno. And like I said, Paul started the game. Jacoby Brissett, 16 snaps. Nick Gates came in for the injured Tyler Larson and played 16 snaps. Jonathan Williams played a lot more than I thought he was going to play. 13 snaps for him. Alex Arma, welcome back. He played 8 snaps. Same with Byron Pringle. De'Ami Brown, 6 snaps. And Jamison Crowder and Trent Scott both played 3 snaps apiece. So now you go from the offense to the defense. And that was 75 snaps defensively. Defense was on the field quite a bit, but they forced turnovers, and that was the difference. Still was a lackluster performance defensively. They still gave up 28 points, and they would have given up 40 had they not forced the 2 fumbles. So they still stink on defense, but they gave us a shot with the 2 turnovers that they forced. They gave us a chance. And they got off the field. I mean, it wasn't great. It was like, 9 of 13, 9 of 16 on third downs. I think the Rams were something to that effect. So they were terrible on third downs. But all in all, they gave us a fighting chance. And that's all you can really ask for. Percy Butler, Quan Martin, Cam Curl, Kendall Fuller, Cody Barton, and Benjamin St. Juste all played 100% of the snaps. Khaleke Hudson played a career high, 64 snaps for 85%. Casey Toohill and Jonathan Allen both played 60 snaps for 80%. Deron Payne had his best game of the season, 54 snaps, 72%. And you know what? That's a good number for him. In a game where there were 75 snaps, we usually see him, if we had 75 snaps, he played 67 of them. He played 63 of them. That 54 is a really good number for him. Keeps him fresh, right? KJ Henry, 42 snaps, 76%. Andre Jones, 35 snaps. Fedarian Mathis, 27. John Ridgeway, 15. Jalen Harris, 12. And Emmanuel Forbes. All this noise we talked about Forbes coming back, needing reps, similar to Sam. He needs to play. Man had 6 snaps. Now, whether he re-aggravated the injury or not, or if they just said, hey, we good. And maybe the Rams just came out in a bunch of 2 wide receiver looks that allowed us to play base, like true base, 4-3 base with 3 linebackers on the field. Or even an extra safety and take him off the field. And they didn't have a lot of 3 wide receiver sets, so he wasn't on the field as much because if they stay in their base with just the 2 corners, Forbes isn't going to be out there. They're going to put Juice out there and they're going to put Kendall Fuller out there. So all that noise they were talking about getting Forbes on the field and getting him reps, 6 snaps for Emmanuel Forbes. You guys know the drill. What says you? Anything needs to change there? Leave it down in the comment section. Somebody need more snaps, somebody need less snaps. You tell me. But I've talked your head off long enough today, given you enough stuff to chew on. Leave it down in the comment section. What do you think? Where are you on week 16? I think I know where most of you lie. Wherever your allegiance is probably where you're going to lie. If you riding with Sam, if you're still outside, then you want us to win this game. Because if we lose this game, I'm telling you, the Cardinals are going to beat the Bears, and the Patriots are going to win another game. And if we lose this game, we're done. Again, you could still beat Dallas. There's still a chance in Week 18. Dallas doesn't need – they're not going to win the division. And if you can't win the division, what are you doing? You're not going to end up any – you're going to be locked into that 5th seed, just like they were last year when they played us in Week 18. Even though they still could theoretically win the division last year, we knew they weren't going to win because the Giants weren't going to beat the Eagles. And the Giants aren't going to beat the Eagles this year either. And so they probably won't need that Week 18 game. Hence – we will have a shot to win in Week 18 like we did last year. But this game is, to me, for all the marbles. If you want a chance at 2, you need to lose this game. You have to lose this game. There's no need to. You have to. If you are Sam Howell and you're trying to give yourself a chance to be the starter next year, you got to beat the Jets. You're running out of opportunities. You're not beating the 49ers the week after. And you're probably not going to beat Dallas if there's anything that the Cowboys have to play for. You're not beating them either. So, what says you? What do you want to see have happen? Leave it down in the comment section. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commander's Nightly News. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone!